Thank you for joining me for this BRIGANCE case screen and online management system refresher training. I am Jennifer Akin, the case screen consultant in the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support in the Office of Assessment and Accountability. Today we're going to go through and I'm going to provide you some updates and procedures for district kindergarten case screen contacts and provide kindergarten screen training content for experienced staff. Our agenda, we will go through the ordering process, timeline for the year, training requirements, the BRIGANCE screen itself, Infinite Campus information, online management system, some slides, and then some resources for you to use throughout the school year. Let's talk through the highlights of the new ordering process. As you know, we had a new ordering process and materials. Those orders were placed directly through Curriculum Associates, the vendor for the BRIGANCE case screen. It was a downloadable form and some directions. They were located directly on their webpage, the Curriculum Associates Kentucky webpage. The deadline to submit those orders was April 17th, and they were emailed directly to uh, the Curriculum Associates company. And then Spanish directions, I just wanted to point out and remind everyone that those were intended to be provided for the translator. And we'll discuss that just a little more when we're going through the order form. This is a snapshot or a screenshot of the actual Curriculum Associates Kentucky webpage. And as you see, the green arrow is pointing to that downloadable order form button. Above that, the training information, that's an important piece to note, as you will need to know where that is later in the presentation. And this is an actual snapshot of the order form itself. On the Introductions tab, there are 3 tabs at the bottom. The Introductions tab, you selected your district, and it also reminds you where you would send that order form once you've completed it. Then once you select your district, then the schools that actually serve kindergarten students would then pre-populate on this page. And there seemed to be a little confusion about the order form this year, and hopefully we can work on making sure that's more clear for next year. But as of now, the first column is speaking of existing classrooms, and it mentions last year, but keep in mind that you're ordering materials for the 2021 school year. So last year really means current year, and you would list the number of classrooms that you have now. Then the next question would be new kindergarten classrooms that you're anticipating for this year or the 2021 school year. And really that means you have preliminary numbers that make you think you're going to have to add a teacher because you will go over cap size, or you have particularly larger group of kindergarten students this year, and instead of 5 existing classrooms, you're going to need 6. So the number that you would put in that column would have been 1 because you wanted to add 1 new classroom. Then it also asks you how many students you anticipate screening, how many sets of Spanish directions are needed. Some may hear from me for a little clarification about Spanish directions, and those are intended to be used year after year and only handed to the person who is translating or helping a student who isn't an English speaker and needs Spanish directions. And again, reminded to get those back from those individuals and then keep those on hand and use them over and over as the screening material does not change. And then the last column that you would answer on this particular tab is, would you like new data sheets shipped? That's because we have some who choose to screen on an iPad, tablet, or computer. And if you choose that, then you would want to go ahead and fill out this information, but simply choose no, you do not need a shipment. And then, of course, yes, if you did want data sheets. And then the next final tab, the shipping tab, would give you options of how you would like those materials shipped. Would you want it directly to the district or a different location? Okay, so now we're going to go run through the timeline of what a typical year looks like. Again, things have changed drastically due to COVID-19. So this year isn't necessarily representative of what next year should be like. However, on a typical year, your timeline would be that very first thing you would order the materials that you would anticipate needing. Um, then you would work on training your staff and training yourself. So the new training of trainers, those TOT 6-hour sessions are those that are for district administrators or that person that's going to be named at the district that will train all your other staff on how to administer the BRIGANCE case screen and provide them updates annually. After you've completed that one 6-hour training the first time, then from there on out, you would use the refresher webcast, which is what you're currently listening to as your annual refresher. In late May, that's typically the time that your Brigance materials would ship to you. However, this year they are on hold and we anticipate shipping those at the end of June. But because we have so much uncertainty, we're just not communicating that as a final and definite decision until we know a little bit more about what the summer and next year will look like. As of now, we have um, our deadline for staff file revisions. The staff file is the file that your district assessment coordinator can access, and that is the list of people that had access to the online management system. They have access to that spreadsheet, and those revisions or additions, those need to be made by June 15th, and that is new this year. That's typically done a little later in the summer, but this year the data team would like that back by June 15th. As of now, in July, the 22nd, as a matter of fact, we still have a train the trainer 6-hour session for the new trainers. We have that face-to-face training still on the books for Frankfurt's location. The registration is still open. However, we are adding a virtual session and we have not set the date for that at this point, but watch the K-Screen update and the DAC Monday emails for more information. And again, we are unsure of whether we can have the face-to-face session, and if so, that would be great. And if not, then we will have that virtual session regardless. And then sometime in typically between June and August, that's when you provide your in-person staff trainings for the online management system. And um, again, you'll be looking at prior setting videos and you'll be using materials from this to train your staff in order to administer the case screen. Also, mid-July to September, that's when your district screening windows typically are open. Um, Then the projected date for the online management system to be live and functioning properly is approximately August 10th. However, that is not a set in stone date. We will give you that information through a case screen update once the OMS is live and ready for your use. Um, August, then in August through October 15th, of course, whenever that goes live, then that will begin your time for entering those student screening data in the OMS. And of course, you want to make sure your prior settings are complete in IC. And then once the October 15th deadline rolls around, which is the absolute latest date you can enter information into the online management system, then in December, we begin reporting those results at the state level. The implementation guide is updated annually. It is now available on the Common Kindergarten Entry Screener webpage. It provides you some more in-depth timelines, information about the case screen process, some additional forms you may need, online management system instructions, and what's new is an Infinite Campus reference guide, which will help you when entering kindergarten into Infinite Campus. That will provide you lots of tips in order to hopefully avoid some errors and pitfalls in the OMS once that becomes functional. Your training requirements, the new district Train the Trainer administrators, you must attend a 6-hour Train the Trainer or Training of Trainers module, and that's presented by Curriculum Associates and KDE. One of those virtual sessions has taken place already, and again, we will offer another. Typically, this is face-to-face. Let me say again, all of these options are typically face-to-face. However, given COVID-19, we have had to make adjustments and be flexible and avoid being in person, of course. So we are trying to provide as many virtual opportunities as we can. New teachers administering the screen for the first time must attend a 3-hour session provided by the district trainer. And that would be best done in person because there's some practice with the screens that's involved. However, you may want to contact us about how to best uh, work through this if you have that actually happen, that you have someone who's never given the screen. um, we'll work with you the best way that we can to offer that virtually or advise you how to provide that virtually. Experienced Train the Trainers must attend a webcast refresher, and that is what you're listening to now. That is your annual requirement. You listen to the webcast refresher every year once you've attended that one-time 6-hour training. And then experienced teachers administering the screen must receive a 1-hour refresher provided by you, the trainer. And then new and experienced data entry staff also have an annual requirement that must be upheld, and you would find that information on our website. Again, just a couple of reminders regarding the training. Districts and schools must keep the training um, sign-in sheets and agendas on file for a year, a calendar year, so basically from one training to the next. And you should collect and file the signed implementation agreements, which are found in Appendix A of the implementation guide. You may want to just have them sign that and keep that with them or scan it. Um, just keep those on file somewhere if in case they were um, requested. Now we'll talk a little bit about the BRIGANCE screen itself. It's best to determine your screening window uh, early on, and of course that depends upon the beginning of school. And again, once you know what your school start date is, then you can determine what your screening window is, which it has to begin 15 calendar days before the first day of school, and it cannot take place after the 30th instructional day. And then keep in mind that once you're entering the data, it has to be entered within 15 instructional days after the screening window closes or no later than October 15th. This slide is just for your district purposes when thinking through planning and training. Collecting prior settings data, that should be done. You can be doing that now. It's a form located on the web page as well as Appendix D in the implementation guide. You can provide that to parents or guardians at registration, at open houses, at kindergarten camps. You can also use preschool and Head Start rosters that can supplement those prior settings forms. And keep in mind that because of COVID-19 and all of your daycares and childcare providers, your preschools, your Head Starts, they all were forced to close. Therefore, you will most likely see multiple prior settings this year. So you will have more than one most likely. And then there will be a new prior settings training video uploaded on the K-Screen webpage. However, the one that has been used in years past is still there for your reference. New for 2020, 2021, you will be screening all students that repeat kindergarten. Again, you will screen all students, even those who repeat kindergarten. So new students who come in who would have the screening anyway. Now everyone will screen repeating kindergarten students um, regardless. So that is new this year. Prior setting data for repeating kindergarten students should be a choice of kindergarten in Infinite Campus, and if it is not yet there, choose other, and then you can make kindergarten that determination. But it should be added into Infinite Campus. Submitting your staff file, remember to review the staff you'd like to have access for the OMS. The District Assessment Coordinator or the DAC has access to that file. Information has also been sent out and was included in the April K-Screen update email. You may want to go back and reference that. Those must be submitted to kdeassessment@education.ky.gov by Friday, June 15th, and that is, again, a new date this year. You want to gather your materials, and when you're getting ready to screen, you want to make sure that you have all of these items when you are preparing to screen your students. You want an implementation guide, you want your screen manual, the data sheets if you use those, counting and sorting items um, that are included in your kit. You want other items such as pencil and paper. You want some picture books. It's nice to have a few choices for the students to choose from. You need photocopies of some of the forms as indicated in your screen manual, and you want to know what your student demographics are. And if you are choosing to use iPads or tablets or the computer, make sure that you've practiced and are familiar so that you're not easily distracted by that and not keeping the validity of the screen going. You want to make sure you review the notes on the kindergarten core assessments on page 29 of the implementation guide. Speaking of the core assessments, you want to make sure that you abide by the directions as written in the manual, that you want to be consistent and maintain that consistency throughout the screen. You adhere to the discontinue point on each student on each item, and that you tab places in the screen for quick reference. You could use sticky notes. It just allows you to easily flip from one thing to the other. You also want to review the implementation guide for detailed notes. The self-help and social emotional scales you want to distribute during the screening window only. You also want to monitor the rate of return and so that you can prompt the return of those forms. And if you're unsuccessful after several tries of having that information come back, the teacher can complete if you cannot obtain that from the family. And remember, every item must be complete. We've mentioned screening using iPads or tablets, but this is an alternative method to using a student data sheet. You can record the student results directly into the OMS, and the student assessment results must be printed and placed in the student's permanent record folder. The self-help and the social emotional scales must be entered, and screening may not begin until the OMS is open, which is typically mid-August. So again, keep that in mind when planning your screening at your district. The non-participation students, those requests will be made through SDRR again. K-screen rosters will be shown in SDR and will initially appear as blank with no students listed. Um, the only students that you would need to add are only if you are requesting a non-participation. More information about non-participation will come out in a different K-screen update. So more information will be coming about SDRR and K-screen specifically. And then students completing the screen, remember, they will not appear on the rosters in the SDRR, only those who you are requesting a non-participation for. And remember that those students, those non-participation students, are for medical or extraordinary circumstances. Um, Nonverbal students, not always, they will not always qualify for an extraordinary or a medical exemption or non-participation. So it's best that if you want to talk through nonverbal situations that you can contact me and we can work through that together. Infinite Campus. Um, the preparations for Infinite Campus are so important because those files upload directly to the online management system. So it's important that you collaborate with your district IC administrator and other data entry staff to make sure that everyone is on the same page moving forward with kindergarten information. We have provided a new resource, the Infinite Campus K-Screen Reference Guide, which is linked here, but it's also an appendix in the implementation guide. You want to make sure that homerooms are scheduled in Infinite Campus by July 26th with this state code, which is 703001, the elementary homeroom. Homeroom should be associated to the teacher with the correct district email address and IC. At least one student assigned to each class by July 26th for kindergarten students. They have to have one student in order to automatically set up in the OMS. And remember that proper setup in Infinite Campus is crucial for the online management system to work effectively. When you enter that prior setting data in IC, the staff must view that instructional video on KDE's media portal. That, again, I mentioned that, and the update will be coming soon. Plan for entering prior setting data into Infinite Campus. Make sure the start date's 1 year prior to the first day of kindergarten. Double check students who attended state-funded preschool and Head Start, and in some cases, kindergarten. And then schedule a time for district contacts to check the progress of the prior settings data by using an ad hoc report that's available in IC. We've talked about the online management system and how important it is for Infinite Campus to be set up in order for online management system to work well. Um, think about when you're looking at the online management system, when you view that, look at the school and the class lists. Make sure that all the schools that serve kindergartners are listed, and make sure all teachers are listed at each school. And then you want to check your user lists. Are all the teachers listed? Are other staff that you need to have access, are they listed? And then double check, are all of the email addresses correct? This is a screenshot of the school and the class list, which is also it it tells you the district name, which is Adair County, and then Adair Primary Center is the school that serves kindergarten students. And so this will tell you the actual users are whited out, but you want to look at the list and make sure that everything is correct and everyone you need has access, and the in order to and if you have errors, then that's when you would let us know. And here again is a user list, an example of one, and we see that there are several users here with their email addresses, and you want to make sure they're correct and that they belong to the correct school or class. And then you want to make sure that you give them the correct role, or that they are assigned the correct role, pardon me. The OMS data is pulled weekly from Infinite Campus and provided to OMS. And the changes generally visible about midweek. So any changes to student information has to be made in the Infinite Campus in order for it to be changed in the OMS. We cannot make direct changes to student information in the OMS. It has to come from Infinite Campus. Sometimes those changes that are made in IC could be delayed from being visible in the OMS by at least a week, and sometimes almost two. It depends on what the date of the change was made, and then how that correlates to the actual time of refresh between Infinite Campus and the OMS. Um, Once you are ready to enter screening data, you can see that the student in this OMS is Lucy Johnson. Lucy has no screening material. She has no screening information entered. And at this point, this is when you would choose to enter new screening data to begin entering her information. Once you've entered all of the information, you want to make sure that if you have entered it all, you want to choose Submit to Score. And you can also save if you have not completed entering all of your information. If you were interrupted or you needed to come back, you can click Save. But you always want to be sure that once you've entered every piece of information that you submit to Score. And the same goes for submitting the self-help and social emotional scales data. You want to make sure that you answer all of those questions. You are transferring what was on the data sheet directly into the OMS, and that you choose to cancel, save, or submit to Score. And again, only save if you're interrupted and you didn't get completely finished. Otherwise, you want to make sure you submit so that it will score that information. And then it will give you a warning that this is saved versus submit. So this provides you a screenshot with this message that says the data sheet for the core assessments can be submitted and scored. The self-help and social emotional scales cannot be scored without completing all items. The self-help and social emotional scales will be saved but not scored until fully complete. So it will warn you if you have even mistakenly missed a question without making sure that you've entered all the data. Once you try to submit to Score, if you have not completed that, it will warn you and say it's not able to be submitted because you've not entered information for every item. This is a shot of Lucy Johnson's profile again, and we see that now she has her core assessments are submitted. They have been scored. However, her self-help and social emotional skills are only saved, which means I have to go back in and enter more information. For At this point, you would not want to enter new screening data. You would simply click into her information that goes along this same line. You want to go back into that same um, screening session and then submit or finish her information and submit it. If you choose to enter new screening data and not go into what's existing, you will end up with a duplicate record, which you want to avoid. And if that happens, then you would want to go into the ones that you would want to go into one of them, the most incomplete, and you can delete that. But you do not want duplicate entries because you just want one nice clean row of data. And ideally you want them both to say here, like demonstrated here, you want both one line, one row of data with each the status is submitted. And that is one complete profile. So there are some reports that you may want to use, which is one is children screened and not screened. There are different ways that you can filter it, but this will give you a overview of students that have been submitted completely. And then you can also see that there's in orange a percentage that have not been screened at all. And then in blue, you can see that there are students that have saved data. That means that their information is not complete and that you must go back and find those students which are at the bottom of that report. So underneath the pie graph, you would see what's submitted here with the information blacked out. You would see that below that pie graph, you would look for that child list and you would look for the word saved for the status, and that would tell you what student you needed to go back and make sure that you finished completing that information and submit it to SCORE. And this is what it looks like in one nice screenshot. You want to make sure that you have all of your information. This is the group screening summary report. Um, it's just a different way of looking um, at how they actually scored. So you would like to see this pie graph. You want to see ideally all orange ready. I'm sorry, all green with ready. They're kindergarten ready. But as you see this report, you have a significant portion of orange. 60% of those students are ready with interventions. And then 20% are ready with enrichments. And that is something to note also, is that we're not using the word or the term not ready for kindergarten students, but it would be ready, ready with interventions, or ready with enrichments. Some reminders again that no iPad screening should be done until the OMS is live. Don't assign students to a pretend class or one teacher in Infinite Campus, because that will just create, you would have to go back and manually change all of that information anyway. So students, that would just create more work for you. So just be patient and wait until the OMS is um, ready and your classrooms are set up. And then remember that students cannot be manually entered by you in the OMS or by KDE. We have no way of entering information on students in the OMS. That must be done through Infinite Campus. Again, data entry reminders, just remember to only enter one new screening session. Be sure that all items on the self-help and social emotional scales are completed. Make sure that you click Submit to Score after entering both the K-Screen core assessments and the self-help social emotional scales. And then view the group report and export as a CSV to sort information easily. That will allow you to see your data in a more defined way. Here's some resources for you as you go through planning for your K-Screen. Um, you want to make sure that you read your K-Screen update emails. They come as needed. There is no particular order. I would also add that DAC Monday emails will also have information regarding K-Screen in those as well. Your implementation guide is very important. It has, again, the updates, the new information for this year, and it's meant to be a guide that is a reference for you as you move through the screening process. Look at the K-Screen webcasts, specifically this webcast, prior settings video, and then look at the Curriculum Associates Kentucky BRIGANCE video series. Um, those are segmented little video clips of that are arranged by topic that would be very important for you to go through as you are training your school staff. And then always our common kindergarten entry screener website from KDE. We keep that updated um, often. It's very rich with resources. This is a list of those topics of resources that are provided by the Curriculum Associates Kentucky webpage. These are, and then the part 10 tips to avoid common pitfalls when entering OMS data is a required view for your data entry staff, or if it could be your teachers if they are entering their own data. And again, I mentioned this earlier in the webcast, but this is what the Curriculum Associates Kentucky webpage looks like. And that top orange in the bottom left of your screen is training information, and that is how you access those videos. Um, for your training purposes, I've listed some possible topics for your experienced teacher and data entry training. You might want to mention your timelines, review the implementation guide. You want to review the Infinite Campus Case Screen Reference Guide since that's new for everyone. Sign the implementation agreement. Um, go through the Common Pitfalls video from Curriculum Associates. Collect your prior settings data. If the self-help social emotional scale is unavailable from the family, complete the teacher survey during your screening window. Um, work through the OMS videos if you'd like. Um, you can sign into your new OMS account mid-August. Remember something about the new OMS accounts. Your old OMS accounts will be deleted in July, and all you have to do is not create a new, but you would just go in to sign with your email address and forget password, and that will generate you an opportunity or users an opportunity to create a new password for the new screening session for the next year. And then you want to discuss anything that's specific to your district. So you may think that since this is sometimes a bit overwhelming, what should I be doing now? Now you want to make sure you read and review that implementation guide. You determine the screening window. You should have already placed your order for materials. You want to plan your training. You want to prepare your data entry staff for for entering that data. You want to create your or revise your staff file. And again, you want to collect that prior settings data. Your next steps then would be to provide that training. Once the OMS is out there and we ask you to access and check it, you want to make sure that you do that and look for any errors. You want to monitor your data entry in Infinite Campus and in the OMS. You want to gather screening materials. You want to just go ahead and then be ready to administer that screen to the students. You want to collect your self-help and social emotional scales, and you want to enter that data in Infinite Campus and the OMS, and also you want to share the results with families. Once that information is gathered and we report it as from the state level, then that information is provided on the open house website. So your readiness data will be in the open house website under the supplemental data. And from the supplemental data page, of course, it's under kindergarten readiness. That is all I have for you, and I hope that you can take a few of these tips and some of this information and take it to your staff. I encourage you to reach out to me with any questions that you may have. And I wish you a successful end to this year and a great start to the next year. Again, thank you for uh, joining me and good luck.